most people, when they invite me to speak, they ask me to speak a few words because they know that I don't stop speaking once I start. But Elena, she has established very clearly the values, the strengths, the competencies, and the skills of this institute. I don't think I can match you in language, diction, or poetry. So, pardon me if I don't. Madhukar, Preeti, Nagesh, governing council members, parents of those passing out this year, and of course, my dear students. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this prestigious institute. And what little I can do to add to the wonderful achievements of this institute, at least to you individually, I will try and do. Congratulations to all of you, last of course to the students, but congratulations to all other than the students, the parents here, teachers here, governing council members here, and all the, did you say Manu Bhai? And all of those who have helped you build such a wonderful institute. Congratulations for the value systems and the culture. I walked in, I think at about 4 o'clock, and governing council I thought would have a large conference room with a conference table in the middle, and well, I was told not suited and booted, but it was such a fantastic surprise to see everybody there. And thereafter, all the energy I see around here, MICAns are a natural. That's what I concluded. You guys are natural. So whatever little I can add to what Elena has so well articulated, let me try and do. In preparing today's speech, I was fortunate enough to be able to speak to some like you who are already in our company. That's the power of the place I sit in my company. I can demand. So I don't listen, I just demand. You tell me what I should speak, because I come from a generation when, windows were opened to let fresh air in, And apples used to be pink. Now they are white. So, the one question that seemed to be on all their minds, and it comes back to simplicity. I start with simplicity, close with simplicity. The one question that seemed to come, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe nowadays they say every year things change. So, we have a brand called Fast Track, and those guys say, every 3 years things change with the youth. But they said, how do you decide what you want to achieve in your career? Now, this sounds like a very, profound statement. And one of them even asked me, did you have a vision that you would one day lead India's largest watch manufacturing company? So that led me to think maybe the easiest way to deal with today is to talk about myself. And in relation to that, that was whatever choices I made 40 years back, how I could add a little value to all those questions that are in your minds. I know all of you, it's 100% placement, I know all that. So, did I think of this grand vision of leading a large fifth largest watchmaker or whatever else you know about Titan? The honest answer is there was no such vision. Today when I look back, it looks like all the dots are connected, but I didn't connect them before the event. Because we belong to a generation, maybe some of you do, that had only hard work, loyalty, passion for the work you do, longevity of engaging with the organization. Those were the value systems of that day. But even beyond this was some enduring values that have helped me, which I would like to share. I think reinterpreting them for today, we can try and do it together, but I think you will be smarter at it. You will be cooler at it than I could. So let me start by the first one. Maybe it is of value. I believe it is of value, enduring value, which is putting the institution ahead of yourself. I believe from what I've seen today and what I've heard and every one of the 158 plus 23, which is 181 people, you cheered. You cheered. I don't see, this is the fourth convocation I'm attending in the last 17 days. And by the time it is 125, most of the people are waiting for the last one. But I could hear you cheering everyone. You have a strong sense of belonging to this institution, and I can already see that you put the institution equal to or ahead of yourself. We are all part of various institutions, our families, our schools, our colleges, our companies, and so on. So when you're part of an institution, I believe you have to do everything for that institution. So this question about joining a company, it is always because I can tell you that all the PPTs that companies made and all the stuff that they put on the website has to be good, isn't it? Who puts up all the warts and moles of their company? We failed here, our products suck, and our service is really bad. And on Facebook we've got so many dislikes or whatever. Nobody puts up that. You make a choice based on that fantastic info, and all the guys who come for PPT are the best guys from the companies. They're not the worst. Therefore, you make a choice, and then how do you put the institution ahead of yourself? The simple rule is, if you put the institution ahead of yourself, I can promise you that the institution, when push comes to shove, will put itself ahead, or put you ahead of itself. And that holds out over a long period of time, and that, I believe, is the essence of Indian companies. And therefore, while we all know that no person is irreplaceable and no person is larger than the institution, as you contribute to the betterment of the institution will realize. And this is a challenge in modern management, and I can promise you it is very confusing. In companies, you treat people not as individual people, you treat them as groups, because homogeneity is what companies want. Data analytics is about numbers, whereas people walk in with not just eyes and hands, but they walk into, on Monday morning, they walk in with emotions. However, including my company, we will treat the batch of 2016 homogeneously. 20 MTs joined this year, so they all must be the same in terms of their expectations out of life, in terms of their expectations out of the job, and how their boss should be, etc., etc. But that's not the case, isn't it? So putting the institution ahead of yourself is the first lesson I learned. And we do that all the time when it comes to our educational institutions, our families. But when you treat your company as an institution, I can tell you it is very energizing. Otherwise, it is all about the work that you do. The second bit, which I believe I have been, and I'm seeing a lot of my colleagues, is about remaining curious. You have all seen how little children behave, how they learn. We have all been very curious as children. We have experimented. We wanted to know how things worked, and then somehow along the way, as we grew up, we managed to kill that curiosity. You guys are better than us. But remaining curious is a challenge, but remaining curious is extremely important. All the Googles of the world and all the Bloombergs of the world, all the data analytics of the world will not get you that bit which curiosity gets you. Curiosity, well, kill the cat, or I know, but it will help you in your life all the time. Borrowing a few words from a Harvard prof, David Garvin, if your rate of learning isn't greater than the rate of change, you're going to fall behind. Planning for your career is not something you do at one point in time. It is something that's ongoing, something that you keep going back to. The simple reason, obviously, for this is change, and I don't want to go back to that old adage that the more things change, the more they seem the same, etc. The world, of course, is moving much faster than we can ever imagine. So remaining curious, being open to new experiences, be willing to travel to new locations. If you are from Patna and you're going to be placed in, I don't know, Trivandrum or something, welcome that. Rather than, of course, I know you don't want to go to Patna, but Bombay is a better place for your career, which means you're already not thinking of your institution. You're already thinking of the next job, because Bombay is a better place for a career. So, location is now, India, lives, of course, in the big cities, but the greater and greater opportunity is in 400 plus, 5,000 plus kind of locations all over the country. Another question that coming up was around this opportunity in India and the India growth story. I think that has been flogged to death in this country, the India story. But let me go back 40 years. I mean, it's a little surprising. I must have been really stupid. I didn't have a passport until 5 years after I passed out of college, which is from the institute here. It's only 1983 that I got a passport, so I didn't even think of going abroad. So for me, at that time, it was more, I guess, the old style patriotism. But be that as it may, the new reason is something else. Indian pride of the modern kind, one sees every day, not of the kind, pardon me if I have to say so, of the Gandhian and the Nehruvian and the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel era, or it's not, of course, great stuff that was done, but it is today Indians feeling we are no less, in fact, we are more, and it is because of the work that Indian companies, Indian institutions, and Indian individuals who have achieved on the global stage. We may not individually know, but we know that there is this mass feeling amongst all of us. I mean, I can tell you hundreds and hundreds of stories. The one thing, we all, complain about the political system, etc., etc. But just look at 3 years back, a little less than 3 years back, in May, we conducted the largest election in the world. And there was a booth somewhere in the northeast where the ballot was cast, and you have to keep the shortest distance. And there were only 21 people. And it is there's one booth in this state, in the Gir forest, where it is for one person to vote, which is the Archaka of the Shiva temple in the Gir forest. And we had a polling booth for that guy. Now, which country will deliver this consistently every 5 years? Forget the results of the election. That is a big, it can go on all night. But, so there are many things that Indians have achieved and Indians are proud of, and therefore the reasons for being in India, contributing to Indian companies, contributing to the Indian dream is different today compared to 40 years back, but it's still very, very strong. The part about this that I want to share with you is, when we used to go to campus, we used to tell, you know, we were not the best paymasters in the 90s, and we used to tell people we are looking for missionaries, not mercenaries. Okay? Because we wanted them not to look at the pay package. Now, missionary companies, companies which give you purpose, every company gives you purpose. But as you get into a company, the one lesson I have learned is getting down to the factory or the retail shop floor or to the field. Now this sounds like a sermon, but there is no better thing to do than to know a company from its bottommost value creating location or opportunity. Because that is where the real company exists. As you go higher and higher, I sit in my cabin. I don't know what's happening in the field except for those rare visits that I make and the numbers that I see. But the company lives in the front line, in the shop floors. And therefore, spending time understanding that is great learning, but more importantly, the bit about mercenary versus missionary, I want to tell you, is that will stand in good stead forever, forever. I did my management training in this state, and I even today talk about my visits from Jethpur and Dhoraji to Bardoli and Khambat. Some of the people don't even know that such places, you know, exist in this place. The India story, of course, the official story, you know, there is Ruchir Sharma from Morgan Stanley who wrote the book Breakout Nations, you know about it. Today it's not about BRIC anymore, you know, Brazil, Russia, India, China, but it's FANG. I suppose you know what FANG is? Do you know what FANG is? It's Facebook, Amazon, Netflix and Google. That's where the world is. It's not BRIC, it's FANG. And India has FANG all excited. We know that. The answer is a 6-letter word called growth. There's one country which the whole world is looking at for sustained, sustainable, and equitable and long-term growth, even compared to China. I know China is a big elephant in the growth story. It is India. So there is the India story which is about pride, and there is growth and opportunity. So what makes it interesting is that while India provides opportunity for growth, it also provides organizations with one important element that can fuel growth, which is highly skilled people. We know that our institutions imparting skills, and we also know that we'll be hugely short of skills 20 years from now if we don't educate our young. But a growing country needs skilled people. So staying here is only going to be more and more and more value adding and profitable. But as you grow, remember one more thing, and this I'm not saying again as a sermon. The reason to think about those who are impoverished, undernourished, exploited, and so on, there is a very, very professional reason for this. I know there's a lot of emotion. A country which has too many poor, too many undernourished, too many exploited, has a burden. That burden the country has to bear, and the more that burden is, the less will the others prosper. It is the equation between those, I mean there are things like Gini index and all that, but I don't want to talk about that. It is in all our interest to raise the level of the exploited and the undernourished and the impoverished. Just think about this. 600 million people, which is half our population, defecate in the open. So many of these schemes, but Swachh Bharat has a lot of meaning. And there are many things like this. I can read out the statistics. We are net grain exporters, but 230 million Indians remained undernourished. It goes on and on. So I know many of you, and that's the lucky bit for all of you, that you don't have, and I'm being very, very fair to the parents here. This generation of parents has not burdened you, and I'm making this bold statement, has not burdened you with that undercurrent of looking after them. You are free thinkers. So if you think your first job sucks, you're going to walk into a second job. If that also sucks, you're going to say, I'm going to serve society. I don't care. I'm armed with MICA postgraduate diploma, and I can make it. I think there's meaning in doing something for society. That's the biggest gift your parents have given you, this institution has given you, and therefore both for an emotional reason and for a practical reason, I believe you people will have the gift. I must be honest, I didn't have the courage. Even today I don't have the courage to do that, having reached wherever I have. So that courage and that confidence that the people, that your parents and your teachers and this institution has given you, respect that, and I'm sure you'll be most happy. The last question I'd like to answer, many people have asked me what's the secret to success and so on. I don't believe there's one secret to success. First of all, what is success itself is rapidly changing. What is success in the world, in the eyes of your family? What is success in the eyes of society? What is success in the eyes of your own friends? Most importantly, in your own self-esteem, what is success? I think you'll be sufficiently confused at the end of my speech. But these are things that I have gone through. And so don't be tense if you're confused. Just follow your heart. Follow what your parents have told you. Follow what your teachers have told you. So the one last bit I want to talk about is time. I know, we are in the business of time, so I'm not talking about watches and clocks. Okay. Time is something we often take for granted. We often take for granted. We not only take our own time for granted, but we also take others' time for granted. I'd like to shift one paradigm for you today. Think of time as a natural resource, as a resource that has been given to every human being, and something that that human being cannot alter. The old adage, of course, that time and tide wait for no man can be no truer. So respect time as you respect gold and diamonds. Just think questions. What will I do with my time today that I have not done yesterday? What will I do with time that will make a difference to someone else? Only you can decide that, and that resource is available only to you. You can say that my time is taken away, 8 hours is taken away by my company, after that 4 hours traveling up and down from Borivali to Churchgate, all that, those are excuses, but your time is your time. So only you can control, and a lot of people will want a part of it. Your family, your friends, your organization, they will all want different things from your time. When you think of time, think of quality time. It's not about punctuality. Have you spent quality time with yourself? Have you spent quality time with your family members? Have you spent quality time learning for yourself, being curious? Have you spent quality time doing something for someone who's not as fortunate as you? time to learn, time to reflect. I'd like to finally conclude by saying once again that you must remember that many people have contributed to your success. Your parents, brothers and sisters, teachers at school and college, neighbors, friends, and even sometimes the hard-working auto rickshaw or bus driver who took you to school. I don't know if you remember him. Humbly accepting that as a gift from the Almighty will always keep you peaceful and in harmony with your environment. And thank you for your patient listening.
He was here, which he intends to pursue